Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Jitsi Community Call. As usual, the floor to the developers to give their updates. Anyone?
We've just released new shards of Jitsi into the Toronto region. So if anybody's up in Canada, you should see slightly better behavior when you're having calls with anybody else.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Small update on my side. I'm working on moving the initial conference IQ that we sent to Jikofu to be able to run that over HTTP. So that's regarding the visitors we're working on. That's more performant and unloads the main procedure, and that's the reason for this change. But it will be configurable and everything. So that's me. And if there are no more updates, I can give the floor for questions from the community.
Yes, hi. I am trying to add a custom feature to the code base. Essentially, we have a need of volume control for incoming streams on mobile, in particular on iOS. And I've been trying to basically hack this to see if I can get it to work. I posted a link to a forum post that I made the other day in chat. To summarize it, my approach is to use the Web Audio API to add a gain node to all incoming streams inside of the attached track function in audiotrack.js. And then essentially modify that gain node. Ultimately, it will in response to the volume slider, but right now I'm just using some test events that are triggered with keyboard presses. And the thing is, this approach actually is modifying the volume on every other device on desktop, but it does not work on iOS. And I was wondering if the team had any insights as to why this might be and what else I can try.
Yeah. No, there was something about mobile. This is iOS web, you say, right?
Yeah, the web app, correct?
Yeah, it's not the mobile app. I remember there was something about there's some
Well,
restriction that we cannot do that on the mobile apps side.
Yeah. Sorry, I have an alarm going on. Just 1 second. What I understand is that Apple basically put in a restriction in their WebKit engine where you cannot modify the volume using the audio tag directly. And that's probably why you guys didn't have support for mobile to begin with. This is kind of a workaround. And if you look at the link that I sent that's included in the post I made, there actually is a working example of a spatial audio application that is also it's using WebRTC as well. So it looks very similar to Jitsi. And that actually does work. And it's using the same approach that I'm taking, where it modifies the gain node in response to how far away you are from another user in that application. So I know that the approach that I'm taking is theoretically possible. I'm just not quite sure why it's not working in my code.
How are you testing? Are you testing through Jitsi Meet? Or it's
yeah, we have a custom deployment of Jitsi Meet, on our own servers.
Have you looked how does Jitsi Meet does currently the audio volume thing per participant? It may be something from Jitsi Meet is overriding what you're doing. I don't know. Just a wild guess.
Yeah, it seems like the web audio API is used in certain places in libjitsi and also in the Jitsi Meet repo, I think, to do echo cancellation. I was wondering if maybe that could be interfering with what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing more I can add. Actually.
Okay. I just appreciate it if anyone from the team feels inclined to take a look at my post and maybe if you have some insight to reply there, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll bring somebody that can maybe help.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Jesse, did you invite to Start 9 to give a presentation to Emil?
Emil is not here. He's off these days, so he will not be joining us this call. Probably he'll be around for the next one, and I have no idea about.
Well, if it's okay with you, sir, Jesse will identify whoever it is that's in the room from Start 9.
Yeah, you can do it.
And then they can get it on recording.
Yeah, it's live stream and that will be recorded. So if
Sure.
let's see whether there are more questions before doing that. Anybody else have some question? Apparently not. So yeah, you're welcome to do the presentation.
Thank you. This is Jesse. I'm just a
Jesse.
power user, I guess, if you will, of both Jitsi and Start 9. And I'd invited the Start 9 folks to be on the call. I have not seen anyone here from Start 9 yet. I did get a note saying that they were planning on being on at 9:50, so it may be that they're planning on being on in about 5 minutes. It might be a time zone issue. So, but I'd like to go ahead, if it's okay with you, to just give kind of a quick background on what I'm looking for, what I'm hoping to get to on this. So, Jitsi as a product is wonderful. I love using it, but instead of using your meet.jit.si website, I would love to be able to self-host that. And what Start 9 does is they provide an operating system, Start OS, that is a very easy GUI deployment type of a operating system, runs Raspberry Pi as well as Intel, and allows people who are not interested in being a Linux admin to be able to deploy packages relatively easily, point and click type of stuff, and run them on their own servers. So Start 9 is very much on sovereign computing. Run your own server, run your own services, and not have to use Google and Amazon and all those folks instead to run all of your cloud-based services. The way that it's set up primarily is if you've already got a Docker package, there's a wrapper that gets built around that into a Start 9 package. And that extra wrapper around it has all of these Start 9 specific configurations and a little bit of scripting and everything else on that, so that the Start 9 OS knows all the information that it needs to load that package in. So most of the services that are already set up with Docker are relatively straightforward to bring into the Start OS ecosystem. Start 9's focus is very much on the operating system side of things, and they are looking for other developers, whoever else is developing different packages, like Jitsi for you guys, to go ahead and do the packaging and add it in. Effectively, they've got the app store, if you will, and just go ahead and submit your stuff. Now, unlike Apple and all that type of thing, it is very open. So it's you've got the ability to sideload. Folks actually have the ability to run their own marketplace, is what they call it, their own app store, if desired as well. And the real challenge right now is that because it's primarily designed home use and everything else and designed to be as self-sovereign as possible, the current release of Start OS has access for folks local on your local network. And then for remote access, its access is only through Tor. So there's the next major upgrade, which will be 4.0. We'll have some ClearNet and or VPN type of access so that you can get to it more easily. But for right now, that is one of the significant limitations on StartOS is for anyone else getting into your service, it would be through Tor. So before I go any further or any more details, any questions on that?
My question is, are you interested in developing the packaging for this? Because I think it's an interesting offering, but I don't think that our team is going to be taking on the packaging requirements. We haven't even gotten to Red Hat yet, and that's been on our list for longer than this has. So in general, we have been asking the community who are interested in having these things, with our help, obviously, to create packaging and be the owners of packages of this variety.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's not something from my standpoint that I've got the technical skill to really do that personally. But I am like I said, I'm an enthusiast on both sides.
That's fair. And
I want to see it happen.
I would
so
love
yeah.
to see us listed there, but the
Okay.
issue is it's a nice idea, but you've raised a couple concerns. One is a Jitsi machine needs an SSL terminated public IP address. Full stop. Right? Like you can do it with
Got
your
it.
own internal network, but there's not. If you're a DIYer, it's unlikely that you're running your own VPN and your own private network with all your other people, right?
Absolutely.
You know, maybe you are, and great. Then you can deploy Jitsi probably on your own anyway because you have the expertise for it. So it's an interesting niche because you would think it would just be easy and you do a click and you're in. But as you've already described with the network access, they're going to have to open some ports. They need to be able to terminate SSL. They need to be able to. Those are the two main things. And so yes, we make that possible with Let's Encrypt and some of the other magic around that, but all of that would then need to be working correctly, and the packaging would get out of date when the latest versions come out and all that. So we would need someone else supporting it and continuing to support it in order to get that going, I would imagine.
Understood. So I think from where we are right now, it probably does not make a lot of sense to go too deep into actually trying to make anything happen yet until StartOS does offer the ClearNet networking access. Because to your point, you're absolutely right. You know, the real use case is when I can run that service on my server and give a, hey, here's the address, public address that everyone else can get to. That's the main point of it.
Well, and I think the other side of it is if you're running something like this, you probably don't want just random people from the internet using it, which means it needs to be locked down with some kind of access control as well. And by default, a Jitsi Meet install is just open to the world. And so we'd have to either be offering configuration options to say, here's how you'd get your whatever backend you're going to have for your auth is. At that point, we're probably not in the point and click easy to configure type service either, because now you're going to have to run your own LDAP there too, or something else for your own auth, or decide to trust Google for that, at which point now you're back to the we don't really want to involve Google or whatever else. So there's a number of ways to do this.
Trusting Google is probably not the right direction.
Well, for this particular service, absolutely. And so the question is, like, who is this really for? And would we get enough adoption to make it worthwhile? I think it's an interesting offering. I think it's a neat idea. I don't know that the overlap of the Venn diagram is going to be a big enough group to actually make it worth a lot of investment.
And that may indeed be the case. For me personally, trying to get out of Google Meet and Teams Meet and Zoom, being able to use Jitsi has been great. And the thought that I had was, given that I've got this server anyway doing this type of stuff, if I could run my own server side, it would relieve all the pressure on you and everybody else about doing this stuff for free.
Right.
So that's that was more my initial view
Yeah,
on
I
it.
think that's fair.
From a standpoint
You
of-
also probably don't want to run a public Jitsi on your Raspberry Pi at home, right? Like
No,
there's some
absolutely
significant
not.
network and compute needs there that will scale with the
Understood.
number of users and all that kind of thing. So it ends up being mostly a hobbyist thing when you run it on your own, or you already have the infrastructure and knowledge to not just be doing it with something like Start 9.
Yeah.
That's my read on it, just from my instinct. It's not that I'm against such a project. I think it's a cool idea.
No.
And part of it is we want Jitsi to be hosted by as many people as possible, and then contribute back as well when you've got different use cases. Like that's part of the goal. So thank you for bringing this up. I had never seen this before, so thank you.
Yeah, no, I suspect you're right. It's probably from the use case perspective, definitely much more on the hobbyist side. I think the piece that you're right on is we would need to have some configuration, something to make it be able to have some limitation in terms of who's able to access it. I think that totally makes sense, and it may be something as simple as having a non-standard port where if you don't know about it, it's not super secure, but at least it keeps, the total random folks from coming in. But definitely something to think about as we get closer. So stage one, we'll get Start OS when they're ready on that. And then I will, more likely that'll probably be me because I'm the guy who seems to be pushing it. But I will follow up and see if we can find some developers, whatever else, who want to do the packaging. And then just catch up with you guys to get some assistance on your side to make sure that we've got the key configurations that need to be included as part of the GUI.
And if you're interested, we have a Docker Jitsi Meet project where all of the Docker Jitsi Meet stuff happens in a Docker Compose. It's multiple containers running separately, so depending on how that all works with them.
No, that's perfect. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate the chance to let you know about this.
And it looks like somebody from Start 9 has actually showed up.
Hey,
excellent.
Jeff. Sorry, we have our stand-up call at 9:30, so it just got over, and I wanted to jump in here to make sure that we. Hi, Aaron.
Perfect.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you guys. It sounds like you were just talking about this integration potentially, so this is a good time to jump in. I'm happy to clarify any questions about what we are and how this might work. Yeah.
The point I was making was that while this seems like a really cool project and would definitely be something that we would not mind Jitsi being listed in, it seems like the overlap of people who would want to run it in Start 9 via point and click, but would not just be running it on their own and having the operational knowledge to do that may not be a wide enough audience to make the investment of time worth it. I mean, it's worth seeing, but it may be that given that you need probably some kind of authorization mechanism behind the scenes, and you need to implement that yourself because Jitsi is just going to point to a few, and that's configuration options that we're not necessarily going to be able to assume for you. That there's a bunch of work towards that, and that we need a public IP address with SSL being terminated, which is another piece that seems like it could be complicated by your Tor requirements at the moment. I hear you, that's changing, but
that is changing. Yeah, we have our operating system handle all the SSL certificate stuff automatically for our next release. So that you should just be able to listen on TCP and have SSL added on top of that.
Great.
We also have Nextcloud as a service available, and Nextcloud has Nextcloud Talk. And so, that doesn't work right now, as you mentioned, because of the Tor requirement. But once the next major version launches, we will, out of the box, be supporting Nextcloud Talk along with anyone who already has Nextcloud installed, which is, of course, Jitsi under the hood. So we do plan to support it within Nextcloud, but it would also be nice to just have Jitsi as a service so that people could just do that if they don't have the full need of Nextcloud, for instance. And they will be able to host it on their own ClearNet domain or subdomain, just like, Jitsi.meet is currently hosted.
So, I think that would be a great idea, and that our Docker Compose is probably the right place to start for how that all works in the Docker Jitsi Meet project and Jitsi.org.
Okay, great. Yeah. I believe so. Aiden, let's talk about multi-container for 2 seconds here, and then I won't interrupt you guys this call anymore. We'll just get back. But so Docker Compose, we need a sort of built-in alternative to that. This is multi-container, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So yes, it's probably It is yet to be determined if we will introduce multi-container support with O4O or after, but that would definitely be a prerequisite on our side. Now, a lot of other services that have Docker Compose, we have just sort of redone it in a single Docker file, which can be a bit difficult at times. Like Docker Compose is much more conducive to multi-container than just putting everything into one container. But yeah, it'd probably be like an 041 type of thing. So
that makes sense.
when we introduce our corollary to Docker Compose, we're not actually going to use Docker Compose. We're going to build multi-container support into StartOS directly.
Yeah, and that multi-container support would be a requirement for Jitsi if you're trying to do it in containers. Like you can potentially try to fit everything into one container, but it's just going to be a mess unless you're.
That's great to know.
Yeah. So you're better off just running multi-container and taking Docker Compose as an example, and then just going from there.
Perfect. All right. Well, it's definitely something we've been excited about, and we knew that ClearNet and Docker Compose or multi-container support were sort of prerequisites. But now that those are coming soon, we've already made a lot of headway on those. We just wanted to get the conversation started because we think it'll be a killer app for our platform. People love Jitsi. We love Jitsi. So yeah.
Well, we love Jitsi too. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks for the time to get this introductions in place and get stuff started.
Thanks for bringing us my attention.
And there's one question in the chat I see where you can find where they should go to find documentation on StartOS.
You can go to start9.com, which links to everything else. But we also have a GitHub where StartOS is listed, and we have ISOs for x86, ARM, Raspberry Pi, all available on the latest release, which came out today. Actually, 0343 was officially launched today, and we have a lot of people successfully installing it on old laptops, old mini PCs, Raspberry Pis. We also sell plug-and-play devices if you don't already have some hardware laying around. So yeah, it's a Linux distro that is optimized for self-hosting, right? So whereas like Ubuntu and other Linux distros, you have to get on the command line in order to install and host anything. We've basically slapped a GUI on what used to be the Linux command line experience, as well as many other things under the hood. So anyway, again, I don't want to take your community call here, but yeah, give it a try. It's really cool. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, this was definitely useful, and I think this was the end of the community call. Unless anybody else has any other questions.
Yes, can we do a new subject?
Absolutely, new subject.
Okay, I noticed that when you start a live stream from the Jitsi Meet product right now, it only allows for a YouTube key. Is there any plans to have ability to put in a Rumble key for free speech platform Rumble?
You can do an RTMP URL, and as long as that RTMP URL starts with RTMP:// has a host name in it, I believe that passes all the way through to Jibri and gets streamed. Now, so as long as that platform supports RTMP streams via a URL, then as long as FFmpeg can talk to it, you should be able to stream okay. That's not called out very well in the UI, but that is, I believe, available even on Meet Jitsi here.
Okay, but I can't go directly to Rumble.
I'm not sure what Rumble is. I haven't used it before.
Rumble is a competitor to YouTube. YouTube is not a free speech platform. If you say something they don't like, you're gone on YouTube.
Sure. But what I'm wondering is, are they an RTMP? Do they take RTMP feeds as their input? Because if so, then you will work out of the box. You just go to the RTMP feed associated with your stream, and you just put that URL into the box, and that should work out of the box.
All right, we'll look into that. I thought that it was YouTube only.
Yeah, so when you look at the UI and you just say start a live stream, it will call out YouTube. But it's an undocumented feature or low documented feature that you can put in an RTMP:// URL. I don't recall if it works on Meet Jitsi. We had like some allow lists that say you can stream to this platform or that platform from our Jibris. But if you're running your own in particular, you can just put in RTMP:// and the host name and the URL, and it should be able to work.
I thank you for your time.
Absolutely. And thank you for bringing this to my attention. I like learning about new platforms. I don't always have the time to dive into them myself. So thanks for the Start 9 and the Rumble references.
Yeah, just for clarification, YouTube banned RT America, which is RT America is not a Russian platform. RT America is America. And so RT America, which is in the form of RT, just plain RT, is now on Rumble. It's the only place you can see it.
Cool. Thanks for that. All right. Anybody else with other topics or questions?
All right. See you